All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So this is the second time I've tried to do this type of podcast with this subject matter. Not sure it's ever going to see the light of day, this one, but I'm going to give it a shot again. I didn't like the other one, but it's called Being Too Good is No Good. And I'm going to mainly talk about this regarding relationships. And my mother says this all the time, and I guess she got it from my grandmother on my father's side. And, you hear a lot of times, being too good is no good. I don't know if you did, but I have. And it's basically, from what I gather, is sometimes when you're in a relationship or just doing things in general for other people all the time, you get taken advantage of sometimes. People may not respect you the way that you want to be respected. And you're really always trying to do your best for others. And a lot of people aren't doing the same for you. And I'm not saying they owe you to do that. But I do think a lot of people that are overly good, I guess you could say, do get taken advantage of. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in this relationship, my goodness, in this podcast when it comes to relationships. Because, I think a lot of us don't realize that we may be getting taken advantage of at certain times. We also may be taking advantage of others at certain times. And I don't think any relationship's perfect by any means. But I do see, I would say, I have seen throughout my life a lot of relationships where somebody is really always really trying to do really good for the other person, really trying to work things out, going way out of their way a lot of times, taking care of that other person to the best of their ability, maybe even their kids, and the other person kind of just doesn't give a shit. And then all of a sudden when that other person who's always trying to do good stops, the other person is looking at that other person like, what the hell happened here? And the truth is, when it comes to relationships, there has to be a balance. I mean, there has to be something there. Now, I'm not saying that one person is not always going to be more accommodating than the other, because I do think a lot of times in relationships, it's never going to be balanced. It's never going to be equal. You do have somebody who's just better at doing things, or maybe better at just taking care of things than the other person. It could be a husband or a wife. But I do think, again, doing too much sometimes for someone all the time kind of sets themselves up for a failure or a letdown a lot of times. There's got to be a balance where you can't help others, but you got to understand you got to help and protect yourself. Because I see so many people, especially if they're getting divorced or breakups, where they did everything they could in the relationship. The other person, again, didn't do much, and then they wonder why it didn't work. And instead of them saying, well, I didn't have somebody else that was, really that good of a person, they're like, oh, I wish I could have done more. Or maybe I should have did more. That's not always the case. Maybe you should have done less instead of more, right? Maybe you should have shown them, or you didn't have to prove it to them. But if they weren't willing to be as, helpful as you were through many things, then they weren't for you. And that's just life. But I just wanted to do a quick kind of podcast on these subject matters because I find them quite interesting and they jump into my head. And I still discuss these things with my mother and other people as well. And I've seen myself, honestly, take advantage of other people who were really good to me. And I didn't pay attention to them. I even had a falling out years ago regarding something I was creating, and somebody was helping me for a long period of time. And then when they needed my help, I kind of blew them off, and then they kind of retaliated because they're like, dude, I helped you for years, and you didn't even give me the time of day when I needed your help. They were absolutely right. And that wasn't a relationship with that I was in with my wife or boyfriend, or with my wife or girlfriend or anyone like that. But it was something that I learned that, they were really good to me. I wasn't being very good to them. And then when they quit doing whatever they were doing for me, I actually got mad. And then I also found myself being mad because they confronted me after I didn't help them. So the whole thing was like, it kind of fell on me. Like, I need to be better a lot of times in relationships and friendships as well. And we just have to acknowledge that. Again, that doesn't mean you have to bend over backwards if somebody else is bending over backwards for you all the time. I'm not saying you have to match up. But I do think there is a balance between, being respectful and having common courtesy towards others that are really always trying to help you. So I'm going to wrap it up there. You got any questions or comments, hit me up. I have a program, Mastering Self-Confidence, where I try to help men within relationships and build confidence in wardrobe, hygiene, fitness, if you didn't know that. But yeah, richcelenza.com is my other website. And Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.